Hi, welcome to Astro Babble. I'm Donna from Donna B Astrology.
And I'm Lynda from Scullywag Astrology.
And today we are going to be talking about the new moon in Sagittarius. And while Linda is getting that up, the moon mansion is going to be the 20th moon mansion. The name of it is called The Beam. It has the flavor of Mars and the moon, so emotional drive. Um, this is also this will be good for the hunter. It's good for targeted pursuits. That's why maybe that's where the hunting comes from. Taming or containing aggressive forces, it's good for. It's also good for alliances. So an interesting, an interesting moon mansion.
The new moon is on the 1st of December. It looks like it will be for more or less most places, apart from maybe the west coast of the US and anything else along that line. It will be very late on the 30th of November. So, new moon in Sagittarius, so it's ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter is opposite it in Gemini, which unfortunately is a sign that it's in its detriment, but at least it can see it so it can assist it. So that's something. And the new moon's also with Mercury, which happens to be retrograde. So it should be quite interesting. Maybe new plans, new ideas, new beginnings, which is what new moons are associated with. Maybe there may be a need to go back and refine those plans. It may not get off to a smooth start, maybe a little bit of a bumpy start.
Not the final decisions in signing your name to papers
Mm.
with the Mercury retrograde. You could
Yeah.
be starting the process of whatever, but keep in mind that Mercury retrograde is definitely prominent with this new moon.
Yeah, we also have Mars in Leo. It's trine by sign to this new moon, and Mars will be, it's already in its retrograde shadow period, I believe, and it will retrograde in the following 2 weeks. So that may be interesting too, maybe a lot of frustration. And again, you know, maybe that will lend the initial push, but you're going to have to go back and redo things, which with both Mercury retrograde associated with this new moon and a pre-shadow retrograde Mars, yeah, it should be interesting. I don't think we're going anywhere fast with plans and seeds being planted at this time.
The moon is very, very low.
Out of bounds. Yes, and Venus, the other benefic, with Jupiter, the ruler of this new moon, being the other benefic, but Venus can't see to assist this new moon either, which is a shame. But at least Uranus is in inversion, so it can't hurt it. And retrograde Saturn making a square by trine to it. So, yeah, it's going to be a very frustrating time, and coming into the holiday season, yeah, nerves can be a little bit frazzled anyway, I think. So, interesting times.
Saturn's out of its retrograde period by now.
Oh, it is too. Oh, well, that's something.
Yeah, that is very possibly helpful.
Yes. Oh, yes. That is helpful. Well, it's malefic though, so it's kind of
Yes,
like,
it is still a malefic.
but at least it's not retrograde. So, yes, there is that. Hmm. Yes. Well, shall we have a look at the horoscopes?
That sounds like a great idea.
And we recommend that you read your ascendant sign horoscope rather than your sun or your moon sign horoscope. And if you don't understand why, me and Donna have done a video all about that, and I'll put a link to that in the description.
Sounds a good idea. And we'll start off with Sagittarius. If Sagittarius is your first house, your rising sign, the new moon will be happening in it. And this will be new things that you're starting with just yourself. This, like a haircut would be a good idea. This is something that you're starting new. So if you need to make an appointment with somebody, this is a good time to be doing that. It's all about trying to be new.
And if you are a Scorpio ascendant, this new moon will be happening in your second house. The second house is associated with our personal income and finances and our personal resources. So you may be looking to make new plans to do with, you know, something financial. Maybe you're looking at another stream of revenue, another income stream. Maybe you're going to take up a side hustle. It could be that you're planning to get something new at this time. Maybe you're saving up for something, a personal resource. With Mercury retrograde there, it may, for example, say you're looking to buy a refrigerator or something, that's a significant amount of money and that will be a good resource for you. It's a case of, certainly with Mercury retrograde anyway, it's a good idea to keep your receipts for anything you buy, but particularly with Mercury retrograde in your second house. So yeah, or it could be that you want this particular model and it's out of stock, and usually it takes 6 weeks to get in, but because of something it's going to take 3 months, or you wanted it in red and they got it in blue. Mercury retrograde's not necessarily, horrific or anything. It's just annoying. So just for everybody, what we're trying to achieve with new beginnings, new starts is likely to be annoying. And for you, it may have something to do with your personal income and finances. Maybe you're trying to start a new budget, save for something, and here comes that unexpected expense, that was completely out of the blue, but is unavoidable.
And if Libra is your rising sign or ascendant, this new moon will be happening in your third house. And the third house is all about the early education as well as travel. It can have a lot to do with your extended family as well. So this could be something new that you're starting, that you can start now and end up in what you can gain in about 6 months. So this will be something you're starting now that you might find the fruition of in about 6 months.
And if you are a Virgo ascendant, this new moon is happening in your fourth house. The fourth house is the house of our home and family. In particular, it relates to our parents. So this may be something that concerns your parents more than yourself. Maybe they've got some new plans or new beginnings that they're starting out on at this time. It could have something to do with a house. Maybe you're moving into a new place. Maybe you're putting in a bid for a house that you're interested in, or you're looking to move to a new area or something. Again, with Mercury retrograde, with this new moon, you can expect delays, setbacks, misunderstandings. Just try and cover your bases, double check everything, make sure that you know exactly what you're signing if you are signing anything. And if you're traveling, for an important meeting or something, factor in a bit of a time allowance there. Or it could be with living conditions, it could be somebody new moving into where you live. And again, Mercury retrograde there, you expect them on Thursday and they turn up on Tuesday perhaps, or something similar.
And if you are a Leo rising, this new moon will be happening in your fifth house. And the fifth house is the house of how you create or what you like to do. This can be hobbies as well. This could be have something to do with your children. So, because that's one of those things you create. The fifth house has everything to do with it's a one of the nicer houses. It's a good house for doing the things that you find that you have fun doing. So this might be things that you're starting, a new hobby. You might start a new hobby or getting concert tickets or some kind of sports events tickets. This is when you'll get those about doing something in the future.
And if you do, make sure that you're only getting how many tickets you want, not extra tickets. I mean, I know I did some online shopping not long ago in the Mercury retrograde shadow, and this Mercury retrograde is squaring my natal Mercury. So I ordered something, and then I noticed I got two of an item, and I was like, yeah, no, I don't need that. How did that happen? But thankfully I was able to contact support and get that fixed up. But, you know, and not that it's the end of the world, but it would have been a pain to, you know, have to send it back and get a refund, wait for that to be processed. And yeah. So, yeah, just for everybody, just be aware what you're doing, and yeah, check everything before you click pay, if that's applicable. And if you are a Cancer ascendant, this new moon is happening in your 6th house. The 6th house is the house of sickness. It is the house of pets and service to others. So this can include things like people that provide a service to the general public. That can include doctors, nurses, first responders. So for some people, maybe you're being accepted into a course where you're studying to be one of those professions, or it could be you're getting a new animal at this time, a new pet. It could be a new illness, perhaps, with Mercury retrograde there. Maybe there's a misdiagnosis. So there may be a need to go back, or it might not actually be a misdiagnosis. It may be a case of like, oh, okay, we've seen something that we're not comfortable with here. We'd like you to come back and get this rescanned, or whatever they're doing, you know, more blood drawn or whatever. And it might not be, you know, necessarily, you know, a new illness or anything. As with all new moons and full moons, they tend to be more impactful if they're actually making a connection with something in your natal chart. So, but yeah, new beginnings to do with pets, service to others, employees. If you have employees, could be a new employee coming on board. Could be if you're a supervisor in your professional life, you know, maybe you've got more or new people to supervise, or it could be just some tradesman around the house or the workplace who's providing some sort of work for you or service.
And if you are a Gemini rising, this is going to be happening in this new moon will be happening in your 7th house. And the 7th house is the house where you have the one other. Um, it's the house where you might be starting new things with, whether it's a new relationship or just making an appointment with somebody. If they write your name down to meet with you at a specific time, or you know you have a committed relationship in some sense, this will be the house that this is featured in. So it'll be new things that are starting with these one-on-one relationships that you have in your life. And it's really nice because there's a Mercury Jupiter mutual reception. So that Mercury is getting a little bit of help from that Jupiter.
Yes, maybe. Probably. Can't hurt.
I like it in your first house.
For Gemini ascendants. Yeah. And if you are a Taurus ascendant, this new moon is happening in your 8th house. The 8th house is shared finances and resources. So this may have nothing to do with you. This could be joint finances, or it could be your partner's finances, because as Donna was talking about the 7th house previous to this is the 2nd house of the 7th, and the 7th is, well, your closest relationships. Yeah, so this could be new beginnings to do with inheritances or taxes or debts or loans or financial agreements or something similar to that. With Mercury retrograde there, really make sure you're reading your contracts. If you're signing any contracts, you want to know exactly what you're dealing with. We've got Mercury retrograde, and that's known to kind of cause issues with those sorts of things. But yeah, look, if you're signing documents, it's always a good idea to double check, make sure you know exactly what you're signing. But with Mercury retrograde in the same house as that area of your chart, definitely a good idea.
And if Aries is your rising sign, this new moon will be happening in your ninth house. And the ninth house is the house of philosophy or law. It could be publishing as well as any of the esoteric subjects like astrology. This has a lot to do with philosophy and those far-reaching subjects that are not the day-to-day. It's not like what we're having for dinner. It's like, is blue really blue? I don't know. Whatever a philosophical question might be crossing your mind. This will be new ideas, and this is great for the new Pluto in Aquarius. I think this will be time where you can be thinking about those new innovative ideas. Saturn might be offering some help later on in the month for that. But this is new ideas that you're having around the higher education. It could even be travel as well as, foreign countries that we're thinking about. So that's where the new ideas will be coming around. If you are an Aries rising, it'll be coming around the philosophy and the psychology, that type of thing.
Yeah.
New ideas.
And if you're traveling, definitely factor in extra travel time. Been caught out.
Good catch.
And if you are a Pisces ascendant, this new moon is happening in your 10th house. The 10th house is associated with our career and public reputation. So could be that there's new beginnings, new starts at work, could be a new job, it could be new responsibilities at the job that you're at, could be a new authority figure, new boss, because the 10th house is also authority figures. It could also be something that you're starting out at this time that will bring you some sort of honors or rewards or recognition, because that's also applicable here, not necessarily to do with your career. It could be something that you'll be recognized for in your private life. With Mercury, so in the same house and retrograde, whatever you're trying to start out or achieve at this time may take a little bit longer than you first anticipate. There may be mix-ups, confusion, snafus to do with these matters. Just plug on. It's just part of life. But unfortunately at this time, it's more likely that there will be little mix-ups and miscommunications to do with these matters.
And if you are an Aquarius rising, this is going to be happening. This new moon will be happening in your 11th house. And the 11th house is what supports you. It could also be your hopes, wishes, and dreams, as well as your friends and associations, the groups you associate with. This might be starting something that's new happening in that house for you. So you will find new ways of doing things, or with Pluto in that first house. That's what I'm kind of stumbling over. Is Pluto's in that house? It's asking for some kind of transformation. So that might have a little bit of flavor into it. But this is new moon is around your hopes, wishes, and dreams, as well as new things that are starting around associations and groups. So have fun with that. This is another nice house.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm a real estate agent. This is a really nice house. This is a bad house.
Yeah, but the real estate agents never tell you that. At least we'll admit some of these houses are a little bit more challenging. Anyway,
Yes.
if you are a Capricorn ascendant, this new moon is happening in your 12th house. And the 12th house is a little bit more of a challenging house. It is to do with our undoing. So this is self-defeating habits, addictions, escapism. It's also places of confinement, such as hospitals and prisons. It's places of solitude and retreat, like monasteries or just spiritual retreats. It's maybe locking yourself away from the world to, work on something behind the scenes. It's places of exile. It is secret matters, hidden and secret matters. So this is, you've got the sun, Mercury, and the moon going on here. So you're doing things behind the scenes, perhaps, or you're planning, doing things behind the scenes. With Mercury retrograde there, that should be interesting. Yeah, you could be talking about these sorts of matters more You could be anything you're doing here, though. There may be mix-ups, miscommunications, or snaffies to do with these matters, but yeah, maybe there's some sort of issue that you've been battling with, and maybe you want to try and overcome them at this time. That would be a good use of that. You've got the benefic Jupiter, which is the ruler of this moon, in your sixth house of illness in general. Certainly trying to help, but it is retrograde, and we do have Mercury retrograde in the 12th house. So look, as we've said for all of these, don't expect it all to be plain sailing. There may be setbacks, there may be delays, there may be things that just come up and seem to just to trip you up. Doesn't mean it's a complete stone wall in front of you. It's just something that's tripped you up. Keep going. So yeah, it's not the best house, but we've got to have a new moon in there at least once every year. So this is your time with this new moon here. And if that sounds harsh, that's okay, because I'm a Capricorn ascendant too. So I'm right there with you. But at least Pluto is no longer in Capricorn, so we do have that. Anyway.
Moving on.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's one of those planets and it doesn't move on very quickly. It's going to be there for 20 years, so because it's in there good for now. It will not go back into Capricorn like it has been kind of going back and forth. So it's done doing that. So, and the stone that I have, which is it's kind of cool and it's really good for new ideas. This is called diopside. They're both diopside. And it's green in color. It can be white, and that's what this one is kind of like. And it goes with the heart chakra, the root chakra, as well as the star chakra. It helps you ground. It's a good grounding stone, but it's also good for learning or coming up with new ideas. It's also good for, like, if you were studying like a math subject, this would be the stone that you want by your side. This is a good ally to learn those different or unusual concepts, those mathematical concepts. So this is kind of like it looks like a regular type of rock. But it does fluorescent, so that's how you know that it is diopside. It does fluoresce, so under ultraviolet light. So that's how you would know that this is that. But yeah, and it's found in China, India, as well as New York. So that's where you will find this stone. It's a great stone for those new concepts that you're trying to maybe get a hold of. So. This is diopside. Yeah, Diopside.
Nice.
And I will be writing an article. I am catching up on my articles, so you'll be able to go there and see pictures and hopefully soon. I'm still in the process of catching up, but I've written it all. I just have to take the pictures and get it up on the thing, my website. That's where it is.
And we have a lot of Venus aspects in the upcoming fortnight. Venus is very busy in this.
Yeah, there's 14 aspects starting off with December 2nd. That's when the aspects start. So the first aspect is going to be Venus will trine Uranus. And this is asking you to change up your love relationships. If you're always doing mechanics, you might go to a quilting show, that type of thing. This is so expect the unusual activity. This is it can be a fun day. It's Venus is a benefic, so it's going to bring you good things. So things might change or be altered, and the Venus will be there to make sure that it kind of goes okay.
Yeah. You may be attracted to new people or new kind of social types of events, or even art. it's you may find yourself, I don't know, going to a symphony and really finding that you enjoyed it and you never thought you would, or going to the opera and you had to be dragged there and you find that you really enjoy it. It's just something a little bit different. You always dated redheads and now here's a cute blonde or something, so who knows. But yeah, something a little bit exciting, something a little bit different, spicing things up a little bit. Very nice.
And then the next aspect we're going to talk about is retrograde Mercury is going to oppose retrograde Jupiter. So nobody's going to be acting how they normally do. This is this is the time where if you are working on a puzzle or if you have a major project, don't overlook the details. This is going to be likely where you're going to not think of all the details. There might be many parts to this whole thing to get it to work. And if you are not looking at the whole picture and getting those details, this is a day where you will easily miss the details. So don't make any decisions. Try to be as clear as you possibly can. But this will be a good time, and just count on that something is there that you're not seeing. Not that it's obscured, it's just that you're not looking at the whole picture. So make sure you are engaging extra drive to try to get all of everything in one screenshot so that you can see everything.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. As Donna was talking about earlier when we were doing the horoscopes, they are in mutual reception in that they're in the sign that the other one is ruled in. So they can kind of help each other a little bit there, but they are both retrograde too. And they're in an opposition, which is challenging. Mercury is also under the beams of the sun. In fact, it's combusts the sun. It's kind of getting burned up by the sun. So yeah, not a great day for strict logical thinking. Even kind of broader themes or big picture thinking may be a little bit what's the word?
Lacking.
It may be big picture thinking, may be perhaps even a little bit too conservative. It's just, as Donna said, they're not acting as they normally would. And yeah, they're under a challenging aspect here. They're both retrograde, but the saving grace here is that they are at least in each other's signs. So they do feel some sort of generosity towards each other. So yeah, unfortunately, because Mercury is moving pretty slowly. Oh, actually, it's getting up close to the sun. It's not, yeah, I don't know, a couple of days maybe. But yeah, if you can avoid making big decisions or signing contracts at this time, I would try to avoid it. But sometimes it can't be avoided. Just do your due diligence, double check everything, triple check everything, make sure you clearly understand what you're getting into and what you can do to get out of it if that's something that you're going to need further down the track.
The next aspect is going to be happening on the same day, and this has a lot to do with the previous aspect. The sun will square Saturn. This is happening on December 4th. So you're going to have that Jupiter Mercury aspect. But this aspect with the sun square Saturn, this is asking you to look at those hard things. It will hopefully reveal the problems that are in a situation. That's what this square is asking you to kind of look at, like, all right, where this is it, and where are the problems that are coming from this. You want to look, you want to try to see what is really going on and what is the mechanics behind everything. Why is it working the way it is? And this might help you figure out the changes that you might need to make. So that's what this is about. It's about making those changes. It's going to start making those changes of what are you seeing that's not supposed to be there.
Yeah, I see this as kind of, a little bit depressing. It's obligations and things that you need to do. It could make you feel just depleted. You could be lacking vitality and enthusiasm. After the Sun squares Saturn and Mercury are going to have a square. So, and then we're going to have Saturn later with Jupiter have a square. So yeah, it's maybe a good idea to pay attention to what's happening around about this time and see, if these issues come up, further down the track. But yeah, I find this, it's just a bit depressing, really.
We'll go on to that next aspect because this is
Much
happening
nicer.
again on it's happening on the same day. So when Venus is going to sextile Neptune, you're going to have that you're going to go through, making sure that you're looking at the whole picture and you're going to be making those hard decisions and trying to find the truth of how everything is working. And then when Venus sextiles Neptune, it's time to like just take a break. Just take a break and you know, do some daydreaming. And when I say only have one glass of wine, I'm talking about like a what is it, 4 or 6 ounce glass, not one of those, not one of those big
Not a
jugs.
massive glass.
Yeah, not a big massive glass. But this is going to be time where you're going to need to relax, and this aspect is there to help you because you've gone through some hard times. This is asking you, you might want to put on the rose-colored glasses, but know that that's what you're doing, so that when you do have those rose-colored glasses going, okay, I'm trying to relax. I'm trying to just break away from all of that hard stuff. Do have the rose-colored glasses on, so I'm not seeing things quite as clearly. So just to have that in the back of your mind of this is actually and the planets are there to help you.
Yeah, this is a bit of respite with the Mercury Jupiter opposition and the Sun square Saturn. This is like, okay, I've done all that, dealt with all that. Now I'm just going to relax and do what I want, enjoy, and what soothes me. Yeah, it should be a nice wind down. In the US. It looks like it'll be late morning, early afternoon. So
Just
very
wait
nice.
till noon. Yeah, some people can't do that. But the next aspect that we're going to be talking about is going to happen just directly the following day, December 5th. And that will be when the sun will conjunct retrograde Mercury, and Mercury is still going backwards, so it's not really a good election to do mercurial things unless you want to be readdressing things over and over and over again. But this is a time where you can be doing the thinking. You can be this is Lynda, you say that the Mercury, the planet, when it's in the heart of the sun, it's getting the king's ear. So you might be getting some bit of information that would be good to journal about. But this could also be good for and I know that Mercury is still in retrograde, but it's good for travel as well as you want to open up that communication and start talking to other people. And that I think that would be one of those things and talk to those people that you're going to be talking to again and again and again. This is getting those ideas distributed and getting that conversation going back and forth. It might not go like you want it to because Mercury is in retrograde, but it's a good thing to start that conversation.
Yeah. When a planet is conjunct the sun, we say that it's a Cazimi. And as Donna alluded to, it's like it's got the king's ear. It's from 15 degrees leading up to the sun and 15 minutes, not 15 minutes, 15 degrees after the sun. It's you know, either combust or under the beams of the sun, so it's kind of hidden. Yeah, this can be a great time, like the Cazimi, the medievals kind of say it's like a sick man or a man on his sick bed and he's been deathly ill, and you know, at this time he kind of turns a corner. He's not going to die, he is going to survive, but he's not at full strength yet. And but you may have some aha moments at this time. You may realize, okay, this is what I should do and what a great idea that is. And but you may not be able to put it into action at this time. And you know, quite possibly the best time to start putting that into action is once it's actually direct again. So yeah. And certainly, you know, both the Sun and Mercury will have not long ago had that square with Saturn. So
And I have been and a lot of people have been anticipating this particular aspect for since the beginning of the year. This will be Mars will station retrograde. It only stations every 2 years. This is a time where it can either be very significant for you. A lot of things for in my chart has happened a lot. I do a lot in my whole life of the scheme of things. A lot happens during the Mars retrogrades. So this will be happening for almost 5 months. It went retrograde, or it's going to go retrograde on December 5th, and it will get out of it will station direct February 24th. So that's a long period of time for that station to be happening. And I think we'll finally be out of the shadow part of the Mars retrograde May 5th. So, and the shadow part of the Mars retrograde started back on October 5th. So it's going to be going in between 17 degrees of Cancer and 6 degrees of Leo. So if you have planets that are in that, things are going to be reworked back and forth over with those Marsy issues. And this might be an activity that you might have to redo over, or just anything like that is asking you to relook at stuff now. I had a baby under Mars retrograde, and I'm not doing that over. But those are the types of things that Mars retrograde can bring into your life. Requires action, maybe bravery, courage.
yeah,
Can also be fights. So be careful of that. It's got that opposition with Pluto. So that Mars and Pluto, and they're going to be kind of doing that dance for the next while until Mars gets out of this retrograde period. It's going to be going back and forth across that Pluto. So that can be challenging as Pluto is looking for power struggles. So fights and power struggles, that those two words just don't signify pleasantness. So just be careful with this one.
yeah. Well, Mars is at 6 degrees Leo when it stations, when it does appear to come to a stop and go backwards. It's going to go all the way back to 17 Cancer. So wherever Leo and Cancer are in your natal chart are the areas of life. The people and topics associated with those houses are likely to be where you're going to have frustrations. You kind of want to take action, which is a Martian word. It's you want to take action, you want to surge forward, you just want to move and do things. And this is where energy and aggression and ambition and courage and those sorts of topics, they're going to be frustrated. They're going to have to cool their heels a little bit. And, Mars isn't known for its patience in general. The retrograde shadow period started from, looks like the 5th of October. So any issues you've had, particularly if it's been run-ins, fights, disagreements, to do, particularly with those houses, your Cancer and your Leo houses, since the 6th of October, you may be getting a comeback around. Somebody's going to kind of, you thought, oh, that was horrible, or, that was a bit dicey. It may be coming back when Mars goes back over where it was at that time that it happened initially. There may be some other need to kind of address something at that time. And then when it comes forward again, maybe there will be a resolution. So if you've been journaling, like Donna always tells us to, you will be able to see what happens. If you don't have much going on in those houses, no planets in those houses, it may not be a big issue, and if it's, say, happening in your third house and there's no planets there, that's going to be very different than if it's happening in, say, your first, your fourth, your 10th, or your seventh, which are what we call the angular houses, which are very significant houses. When things are happening on the angles, it's usually pretty much a big deal. So if you're a fixed sign, so that's Leo, Aquarius, Scorpio, or Taurus, you may be noticing this Mars retrograde a little bit more. Donna was talking about, things happening for her during Mars retrograde. I went and had a look through mine. I found some interesting things, engagements, marriages, what else? Divorce, birth of a child. I found for mine, it almost needed a solar eclipse happening connected with those topics as well. But I do have Mars retrograde in my natal chart. So, and if you have Mars retrograde in your natal chart, you may find Mars retrograde in general a little bit easier to handle, simply because you're kind of used to things not always going straightforward for you. You might be used to kind of having to backtrack and, come back and batter that thing again a second or third or a fourth time. So, yeah. But, there's no getting around it. So, and it will be over the 2 signs. So I'm not sure exactly when it goes back into Cancer, but it will only got to far as 6. Have you got that, Donna?
I'm looking. I think it might go into no, I don't know when it goes into Cancer.
Oh, actually, let's have a look. Looks like early January it will go into Cancer, retrograde back into Cancer. So, yeah. So just what you need for the new year.
Oh yeah.
You can finish
Now that you mention that,
off the year fighting with whoever the people and topics associated with Leo in your chart are. And then in the new year, you can start fighting with the people and topics associated with where the Cancer are. So there's something to look forward to. No, you won't necessarily fight with everybody, but, you may experience delays and, frustrations to do with the people and topics associated with that house. Just know that it's not going to be plain sailing.
and the next aspect is going to happen on the following day, December 6th. Retrograde Mercury will square Saturn. This is, squares are always challenging. They're asking you to create action. There's some kind of a tension that needs to be released. So that's what this is about. It's going to be very easily to be misunderstood. So you want to be very clear on your communications. This is also it's good for practical thinking as far as on the usual, but do keep in mind that that Mercury is retrograde. So you're not going to have the clearest thinking, but be careful of signing contracts, again, because Saturn is rules and Mercury is retrograde going, screw that. We don't need the rules, so just chuck them out the window. You might find people that are narrow-minded. That's what the square represents with Mercury, is you'll find people that could be very narrow-minded in their thinking. So keep that in mind when you go out on Friday and try to interact with the rest of the world. You might run into people who are a little bit more narrow-minded than normal.
Yeah. When Mercury's retrograde, we like to say that it's good for doing things. So redoing, rechecking, reapplying, rescheduling. So maybe at this time, that's something that you're doing. Maybe when Mercury and Saturn had their last aspect, which I'm not sure when that was, there may be an issue that needed cleaning up then. But yeah, look, this kind of comes to mind to me like paperwork and, really good thing if you've got to go over, use that Mercury retrograde to its advantage, if you could call it that, to, it might be the second or third time you've had to fill out that application form, but maybe this time it'll be perfect. So, Saturn hopefully will assist with that.
And the next aspect is going to happen on the following day. So this will be December 7th. Venus will enter Aquarius. And I'm, this is a really good time. Anytime a planet moves into another sign is a good time to journal. It usually leaves an impact or something that might manifest for you. Venus is benefic, so you can be looking forward to good things, whether you're an Aquarius rising or wherever Aquarius is in your chart. You should get some kind of a benefit when Venus moves into it.
Yeah, yeah, wherever Venus goes, there's usually some sort of benefit or gift. So you may get that through the people or topics associated with Aquarius. Um, yeah, you may be drawn to things that are a little bit offbeat or unusual. In modern astrology, Aquarius is ruled by Uranus. So you kind of get that offbeat and individualistic, kind of rebellious, avant-garde type feel. In Hellenistic and ancient astrology, we consider Saturn to be the ruler of Aquarius. And I had a lot of trouble kind of coming to grips with that. It's kind of like Aquarius ruled by Saturn. How could that possibly be? But, if you think of Saturn, it was the outer limits of the known universe at that time. And it was like Capricorn was kind of, my understanding, kind of, all within it, but Aquarius was beyond that limit. So yeah, it's going beyond, finding beauty and value within things that are a little unusual, and that it's can be fun. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but that's half the fun sometimes. Very interesting. That's going to run smack bang into Pluto there.
Pluto. I was just looking at that going, oh.
I got a story about that for the next one.
So the next aspect, and we were alluding to Venus will conjunct Pluto, and Pluto is one of those planets that demand intensity. It's so things might be very abrupt or very intense for you to go through with this next aspect. But when Venus and is conjunct Pluto, you're going to look for power struggles as well, and be careful of how you view things. A lot of your how you love might be coming from more of your subconscious. So that might be your go-to how you act, but maybe this might be a time to change it up. Maybe act differently to a situation. This It could be positive, but there is with that opposition to Mars, you got to keep that in the back of your mind that this could be a very time, don't put yourself in risky areas, like physically. Don't go walking down the dark alleys. Make sure you're with a group of, many people that you have that protection so that you're not caught in a power struggle.
Venus, Pluto, like Donna said, there can be, balance issues or balance issues, power imbalance issues, and all that, particularly to do with women and that. That Mars, I see what you mean. I wouldn't be so worried until it gets closer, and by that time Venus will have moved on, so that's something. But it is by sign, so, and it's not bad advice in general, but I think we can over worry about some aspects too, you know. The story I was going to tell you, a mutual friend of ours went and got her hair done, and she has Venus natally in Aquarius at 0 degrees. So Pluto has just hit on her Venus, her natal Venus, and she went in for some streaks, very light streaks, and she's come out very, very blonde. So I've seen photos though, and it looks really good. So we're not doing small and subtle, we're doing bombshell sort of thing. Yeah, it's yeah. With Pluto, there's a saying, you know, makes little things big and big things small. It's intense, it's transformative, it's yeah, it can be very obsessive even sometimes. With Venus, this can be our relationships, not just our love relationships. This can be, yeah, just socializing. It's friends and all that as well. It's also art and that. So maybe you become consumed by a person or a project or some social event, or, you know, maybe it could be anything. It could be music. It could be any of the Venusian subjects. You know, maybe you're suddenly exceptionally passionate about fashion. You know, maybe you stumble across some type of, I don't know, genre. It wouldn't be genre. I can't think of the word of clothing. Maybe you've suddenly just, you know, this is more, well, actually, now that we've got it in Aquarius, yeah, maybe you've suddenly discovered that you're a goth, or maybe you've discovered that there's goths that kind of like a bit of pink with it. I'm sure there's a name for that. You know, maybe there's a Lolita goth thing. I don't know. I'm just, my Mercury is being hit and banged and smashed around at the moment, so I'm just talking nonsense. But passionate, obsessive, you know, this can be intense, but it can be intense good, could be intense bad, as Donna alluded to. Yes, that Mars is opposite, but it's not exactly opposite. So be wary, but don't be frightened or intimidated that you're not living your life either, I think.
You
But,
just
you
want to
know,
take the precautions.
use caution, you know, that's just good common sense. Says the Capricorn ascendant.
There you go. And the next aspect will happen on December 7th. So this is the same day, right? Yeah, it's the same day. This will be where the sun will oppose retrograde Jupiter. This is looking at the big picture. But the opposition is just to see what the other one's doing. And when you go about to do this, this is a time to be reasonably optimistic. Because I'm saying reasonably optimistic, normally I would say it's very optimistic. However, with Jupiter in retrograde, you can be reasonably optimistic. That's where I'm sticking that grade into. Be careful about don't overindulge. You want to make sure that uh, you have your head right and you're not doing like overkill. You don't want to like you want a garden and you can do a 10 by 10 plot. Don't go and buy you know, the 1,000 plants and have 100 by 100 square foot when you can only manage a little bit. So be careful of what you manage, what you can do.
Yeah, yeah. It could be easy to get carried away with over enthusiasm, or even the opposite to some, for some, with it being retrograde. You know, sometimes Jupiter retrograde can manifest as, you know, that optimism. It seems like luck has deserted you and you just, and I mean, poor old Jupiter's in a sign of its detriment. It can see its ruler though, which is Mercury. But yeah, just, you know, maybe just don't go overboard. I mean, when the sun's opposite Jupiter, it's always retrograde. But yeah, maybe this is a time when you kind of have some sort of inkling of, like, you may have been feeling defeated and, a little less joyful, a little less enthusiastic, but maybe you kind of start to get a bit of your spark back. You may not have the chance to do anything about it right at this time, but it might be like seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. And it's not another train, it's actual light of outside. So you're heading in the right direction.
And oh dear, this is happening the same day. So we had Venus going into Aquarius, Venus conjunct Pluto, the sun opposite Jupiter, and the next aspect is going to be Neptune is going to station direct. Put down the wine glass. This is where you're going to see things hopefully a little bit more clear. When Neptune was retrograde, um, it's going to make everything more foggy. But this hopefully will give you a little bit more clarity. Although Venus is known for, or not Venus, Neptune is known for obscuring things. Your sensitivities could be up, your intuition could be up. So pay attention to your gut. That's my thing for this aspect. It's you want to make sure that you're that you can be sensitive and be careful about the energy that you're in. Like if you're in a room full of, angry people, get out of it because you're that energy could come into you. It's Neptune is that it doesn't have really barriers. It kind of floats among, in between two different realms. And with Neptune going direct, it's going to be a little bit more noticeable, your Neptunian qualities. Allergies might be high. This could be a time when you are sensitive to drugs, especially on the station. So just be aware of those things.
Yeah. I think this is more likely to impact people who have planets, particularly about 27 degrees of Pisces and also the other mutable uh, signs. So that is, if you've got planets around about 27 degrees of Pisces,
Oh
Virgo,
no.
Gemini, or Sagittarius. Yeah, you know, with Neptune, it's what are we not seeing, but it can also be idealistic and it can be romantic and creative. Maybe if you're a creative type and you've been stuck, maybe this is a time when you're able to move forward. Um, Maybe if somebody's been deceiving you or you're not being seeing something clearly, maybe I kind of doubt it, but I was going to say maybe you kind of start to see clearly. No, but yeah, look, with the outers, I think unless it's making an impact to a natal planet of yours, you're probably not going to notice it as much as it is an outer planet. It does move very slowly. Um, so yeah, just be aware if it's making contact with your planets, things may not be as they seem. It's kind of, it can be very dreamy, it's foggy. It's hard to see in fog, you know, and it can obscure things. So, but it'll be moving forward. So there's that.
Out of the kettle and into the frying pan. Um, Neptune and Aries, I'm not looking forward to it. Anyways, Venus, I like it in Pisces, but that's just me. Venus opposite retrograde Mars is going to be happening later. We have 5 days of quietness as far as the planet, so that's going to be nice. Um, but then get ready to jump right back into the thick of things with Venus opposing Mars and Mars is retrograde. With this is the planets are looking for, they're looking for balance in partnerships. So you might find You might find power struggles, but this you might also see some very creative energy with this. Especially creative sexual energy. This is when babies are probably going to be made. Yeah, is that the holidays coming up. So, the with this and if it's not a one-on-one relationship with a romantic partner, you could very well have conflicts with partners based on just wanting to have that upper hand or that power struggle. So, it could be a very changing day for you, especially with the partnerships that you have in your relationships.
Yeah, Venus Mars, they're an archetypal pair, so there's usually a bit of chemistry between them. It's an opposition, which can be challenging, but as Donna alluded to, it can be a bit of sexual tension. But that Mars is retrograde, and it's fairly newly retrograde, so there could be maybe some impatience. There can be, maybe a little bit too hasty, a little bit too Martian. Just Mars is being a bit of a brute, and he needs to learn to be a little bit softer, dealing with Venus. Even though she's in Aquarius, she's still Venus, and it will pass pretty quickly. But yeah, it might be a little bit of sexual tension.
And the next aspect will be retrograde Mercury will sextile Venus. Ooh, this is going to be a fun one. And I say that because sextiles are opportunities for us to be able to, get some new things going. Mercury, we all know that don't take the things at face value. Make sure you're checking your facts. But, with the sextile with Venus, this is asking you to do something fun. So do something that has to do with self-care. This is probably a really good time to, go to that spa and do something fun and get the beauty around you. Make sure you're in an area or a landscape that brings you beauty. So that's what you're looking for with this particular type of aspect. You could also get the I love yous, the verbal I love yous. This is a normal time where you would be hearing those types of things.
Yeah, with Mercury retrograde, it's a little bit easy to, I think, you may be reading between the lines and maybe you're not reading that accurately. Particularly when it comes to relationships or matters to do with Venusian topics such as art, beauty, harmony, relationships in general, socializing. And Mercury's in Sagittarius, which I always think of as rather great storytellers. They don't always let the truth get in the way of a good story, let's just put it that way. And I say that with love and admiration. But yes, with Mercury in Sag and retrograde, you know, I see Mercury and Venus in a sextile. Usually I think, sweet talk and, flirting and all the rest of it. Yeah, it might be very easy to get carried away and, yeah, maybe just take into account, not everything is said in deadly earnest when just chatting and flirting sometimes. I see that that Mercury is going to come up and trine Mars, which makes me think we had that tension between Venus and Mars, I think the day before. And yeah, maybe Mercury's come in to, soothe things over, but maybe Mercury gets a little bit flowery with the language. So we'll see.
Well, that's something to look forward to.
I think that would be interesting, but very easy to yes, just be aware. Some people are very flowery with their language, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you know, it might not be a declaration of love. It may be somebody who almost loves words and got a little bit carried away.
And then the next aspect we're going to be talking about, well, Mercury will be stationing direct, which means it's going to start going in that forward direction. Although it never left going in that forward direction, it just from our vantage point, it kind of looked like it was going backwards. but when Mercury stations direct, we can expect things, our travel to be a little bit easier, our contracts, hopefully, we can not expect to have to re-go over things. But this is a time where it's about, having things more forward thinking.
Yeah, Mercury station direct, very nice. Sometimes though you do get caught in the after shadow. We did a video all about Mercury retrograde, and we do have a separate little video about the retrograde shadow period, and we might put the link to that down in the description too. For example, as I mentioned earlier, my Mercury is getting squared. My natal Mercury is getting squared by this retrograde Mercury. And even before Mercury was officially retrograde, it's causing not havoc, but it's made itself known. Let's just put it that way, in various ways. So you can get through the whole Mercury retrograde and still run into problems. And like I said, it's not world shattering. It's not huge brick walls usually. It's usually just inconveniences, things that you assumed were done. You had your phone charging overnight. You assumed it was fully charged. You didn't even look at it before you ripped it out the wall and went on your way for the day. And then you find out that it wasn't charging and you're on 3% and you didn't bring your phone charger with you, So it's just inconvenient, It's not horrible. But yeah, now that Mercury is direct though, for a lot of us, it will be a lot nicer, but don't be surprised if there's still some hiccups. And that will be in the shadow period till about the 2nd of January, it looks like. So yeah. And not every day is going to be, torment, I would hope. But yeah, you could expect that, if you're not paying attention and double checking things, they may trip you up. That's all. That's all we're saying.
Aspect will be the full moon that we will be talking about, and the full moon, going to be in Gemini. So
Yeah, well, the full moon in Gemini, so it will be ruled by Mercury, which is stationing at the time. So that will be interesting. It will be opposite the full moon, but it will be stationing. When a planet's stationing, it appears to be standing still. It's not doing anything. It's not even going backwards. It just appears to be standing still. So this will be interesting. High points, culminations, and endings to do with these matters. Maybe they're going to take longer than you expect. Maybe everything just seems to grind to a halt. And I mean, this is coming in around about leading up to the holiday season. In a lot of places shut down, or, maybe stores run out of what you want, or you assumed you had time to, book this place for this event or whatever, whatever this high point culmination or ending is, which is what full moons tend to be about. There may be kind of a time of stillness or kind of waiting because nothing seems to be happening. So, and that's more likely if you've got planets around about 23 degrees of the mutable signs, which is Gemini, Sagittarius, Virgo, and Pisces. So yes, we've got Venus and Pluto that will be trining by sign this full moon. Saturn and Neptune will be, what's that, squaring it. That'll be fun. Uranus is in inversion, so it's like in its blind spot, so I can't see it. Mars, newly retrograde, will be sextiling it, but only by sign, not by degree, so that's something. And that's about it. So yeah, that will be interesting coming up to Christmas. We must be having the next new moon after that, round about very close to New Year's Eve. That'll be interesting. be nice to have a full moon for New Year's, but you can't have everything. Is it the 30th or the 31st? Or is it the 29th?
The new moon must be on the 30th. Yep, at 9 degrees, 44 minutes of Capricorn
Oh, okay.
will be when the new moon's is.
Well, we will get to
That'll
that.
be
We'll
very
get to that.
Yep.
Well, we'll get to this one first. So, Donna,
So,
what have you been up to?
what are you doing?
I beat you. What have you been up to and where can people find you?
I have been working on catching up with my stone articles. Hopefully they'll be up really soon. And I'm trying to work on my website, which is donnabastrology.com, where you can contact me with natal readings, electional, medical astrology, which is different from medical. As well as I do energy healing or energy work, which is helping you heal. This is something I have been working on for the last 4 years, 5 years. And it will be, I've been working on that. So you can get a hold of me for any of those types of options. And you can write me at donnabarconsulting@gmail.com. So that's how you can get a hold of me. And Lynda, what are you working on? People get a hold of you?
I'm at Scullywag Astrology. That's astrology.scullywag.com. And yeah, I offer year ahead, natal, and relationship astrology.
Very nice.
Yes, and thank you for listening and your likes and your shares and your comments. And we hope it's a very good full moon for you.